While the Flames get outscored 8-3 over the weekend, drop a spot or two in the standings, everything's coming up Millhouse. Let's get into it.
Well, it looks like the Flames are finally dropping in the standings a little bit. I don't think anybody's really all that surprised. I know there's a lot of people holding on hope that the Flames are going to make the playoffs. If you check out the wild card standings right now, the Flames are at 71 points, and the second wild card team has 85. So that's 14 points, and we only have 12 games remaining. So doesn't seem very possible, but it's not impossible, I suppose.
So you're saying there's a chance?
So you're saying there's a chance?
I mean, I'm not saying there's a chance.
Yeah, for those of you listening who would like the Flames to make the playoffs, I get it. It's hard watching the team lose. It's hard, watching them get out skilled all the time because there's just not all that much skill on the team. But it's what we've got to deal with right now. And honestly, having a relatively high draft pick, most likely top 10 draft pick coming in the next in the next couple months here would really help the Flames in the long term, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as it sits right now, we're 23rd in the league, which means we are drafting in the 10th spot. Obviously pre-lottery, so there's a chance we can move up a couple of spots even from that. Hopefully, if we can jump up a few, that would be ideal.
I don't see us getting into the 26th spot. Ottawa is just a little bit too far behind. It's possible, but I don't think so. I do think that it's quite possible. Seattle's only 2 points behind us, and Pittsburgh's 1 point behind us. I think those are both possible. Holy shit, Seattle has 5 less wins than us and only has 2 less points.
Right.
Gotta love the standings setup that the league has.
Yeah, it's weird, and that's how important that win was against Pittsburgh on the 2nd of March, right? Had we lost that, we would be inverted with them right now. So
yeah,
that's what happens when your players get cocky and start scoring goals when they should be. I'm only kidding. As far as the players go, I'm obviously more excited that they're wanting to win. I want them to continue fighting as hard as they can. I just hope that they score more than us.
That's something I actually want to talk about because I see a whole lot of discourse online. I see a lot of people complaining that fans want losses. And we'll get to that in a second, but I see a lot of people complaining that the fans want the players to tank. And I don't think I see very many fans at all saying, they want the players to tank or the coaches to tank. Nobody wants that. We want to watch exciting hockey. We want to watch them try. It's not like we want to watch lazy back checks and half-assed chances and all that type of stuff. I mean, we get that sometimes because that's the personnel we have, but that's not what we want.
Yeah.
We want what we have currently, which is a team that when they try hard doesn't win often.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that people are wishing for losses. Yeah, I agree. Like we want the best draft pick possible. I mean, we've spent better part of 2 decades or more drafting in the roughly the same spot, and it really hasn't gotten us very far.
Yeah,
The couple of times that we drafted higher up, none of those players are around anymore. So, it's just time. Like we need to get into the eventual top five if we can. And
hopefully next year.
yeah, obviously that's not going to be this year unless a miracle happens at the lottery. But I think as long as that effort is there, you just want to see growth from your young players, right? And
100%.
we don't know which of the veterans are going to be around for next season. So that's what I want. I just want to see anybody that's 25 years old or less. I just want to see effort. I want to see growth. I just want to see a good team game.
Absolutely. That's all we're asking for is
Yeah.
watch the young players play. And also, another thing that I see a lot of people talking about and hear a lot of people talking about is, why isn't Coronado playing? Why is Peltier in the minors? Blah, 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 blah. And like, you still have to have a little bit of um, um, accountability, would be the word I'm looking
Mhm.
for. Got to have a little
Yep.
bit of accountability on the team, because if you don't have any accountability, then nobody's actually getting better and nobody's learning the lessons they need to learn to become better players. Those young players like Peltier, for instance, if Peltier sees the effort that like Rooney puts in nightly, but if Rooney gets scratched and Peltier gets put in instead of Rooney, then that's not teaching Peltier that he needs to play better in order to be in the lineup, because he hasn't been very good, right?
No, he's definitely struggled this year, for sure. I mean, he looked way better last year when it was all shiny new to him.
Yeah.
Not really sure what the reasoning is this year. Whether it be some hesitation, maybe after an injury that kept him out for the majority of the season. Um, I'm not really sure the reason, but it's clear that there's something going on. He just needs to take another step. And I think maybe some games in the A will help him with that, right?
And he
And
said
as
the
far as
same thing. And I was really
yeah,
impressed with that. Like, not that I've ever been unimpressed with the way Peltier is with the media or anything like that. I've always been very impressed with the way Peltier is with the media, but
mm,
the you don't hear that from a young player getting sent down very often. Like, you'll hear them say, "I understand why," but you don't often hear them say, "I agree, I haven't been good. I need to develop more." Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. Like,
yeah, well, exactly, and that's what you want from your players, right? That's actual accountability.
yeah,
That's not making excuses. That's yes, I haven't been good enough, and I plan on being better.
exactly. And I have
Uh,
no doubt he will be. Now,
yeah.
I think, you know, I think people are starting to notice now that Peltier might not be that top six player. He may very well be eventually, but he might
Mhm.
not be that top six player that people had him pegged for last year. Like, yeah, he's definitely gonna in the next couple of years become that. Maybe not. Maybe he is going to be a third liner. Maybe he's going to become a kind of like a better version of Mangiapane. You know, which is
One can hope.
perfectly fine. Teams need that too. You ask Tampa Bay, the one of the big reasons they won those cups And sure, they'll talk about Stamkos and they'll talk about Point and they'll talk about Kucherov and they'll talk about Vasilevsky and Hedman and Sergachev, but they will also talk a lot, and they still talk a lot about Blake Coleman, and they talk a lot about Barclay Goodrow and the other guy on that line. I can't even remember right now, but that's
It's
you need those players, right?
every successful team has a solid middle six and bottom six.
Yeah.
Like it's a necessity. All lines need to be able to score now. It's not like the way it was, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where almost your bottom six were just hired goons, right? Don't get me wrong, I love that kind of hockey, but that's just not how the game is played anymore. So we're gonna need those useful guys, in that third line spot. And I think Pelche is. I mean, at least for next year, I think that's where he should be slated.
Kind of right.
You know,
I'm like right where Mangiapane is, kind of.
he can take his place. Speaking of accountability, right? I think that's a piss poor message myself. That
That
uh,
Mangiapane's even playing.
yeah, you
I
got
agree.
guys trying to come up from the A and crack the lineup on a regular basis. Meanwhile, you've got Mangiapane, who's just a fucking disaster in 98% of the games that he plays.
Yeah.
Can't hit the net, can't stay on his feet, can't battle for a puck, can't. There's just so many things on his list of things he can't do,
Yeah.
but still he gets ice time every game. So that's to me that's frustrating.
It makes very little sense to me, other than his salary. But I've always found that to be a pretty bad excuse to have a player playing just because they're making the money. Scratch a player if they're playing badly, especially if they're playing that badly. Um, Honestly, like I've said it once, I'll say it 100 times. Mangiapane is a classic example of why I don't stare at fucking analytics all day long and use them as the be all end all like a lot of people do these days. Like he's got fantastic analytics, but he can't
I
hit
don't
the
see
net.
how.
Like you've got fans all over social media saying, "Oh, like I I saw or I heard that the fans in the dome were getting all excited, and I looked up and I saw Mangiapane was on a breakaway, and I just looked back down because I
Yeah,
I knew that he was going to miss by 10 feet high and 3 feet wide, and I knew that if he wasn't going to do that, then it was going to go right in the goalie's chest, and like or he'd fan on a pass or he'd whatever, right? Like he does.
yeah.
He's so frustrating to watch, and I don't think Matt Coronado is fully ready for the NHL. I really don't. I think I think he's going to be great when one of these days, probably about halfway through next year, he's going to start going off. I really do believe that. He's
Yeah.
probably, I'll make a prediction right now. He scores 25 next year. But
I mean,
he
that's
deserves
a
to
bold
be in
prediction.
right now. He deserves to be in way
Mhm.
more than Mangiapane. The
Yeah.
rest, honestly, the rest of the forwards, I'm fine with. I think the ones that are playing are the ones that deserve to play, other than Mangiapane.
Mhm.
And Matt Coronado is sitting there not playing, which, Mangiapane is the only one who's playing that doesn't deserve to. And you could easily throw Coronado into that spot.
Yeah, I agree. And then we've got Dewar that has watched quite a bit of this year, but he's struggled, right? And I'm sure he knows he's struggled. He hasn't looked as dynamic in I think in almost every single game he's played this year. I mean,
Yeah,
he hasn't been bad, but he certainly hasn't stood out for the right reasons.
absolutely.
So I don't mind him there. But yeah, I mean, Mangiapane needs to take a seat and make room for somebody that's hungry, young, and somebody that deserves to be in that spot.
You know who also deserves to be in that spot, and he's a prospect. He's actually not as old as we think he is. Um, I'm just going to look it up. They don't know exactly how old he is. Um, but Ben Jones has really played well for the Wranglers this season.
Mhm.
He's 25, so I guess he's not a prospect, but he's a guy who deserves a shot. And when you have a guy like Mangiapane who's not playing well and is actively making fans groan every time he touches the puck, maybe the accountability thing, maybe it's time to give Ben Jones a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Jones making some time in a call up this year, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Klapka too.
in my absolutely Clapton, yes. But I think the guys that are already here need to be playing.
Coronado is the main one.
Yeah, Coronado I think needs to get more of a legitimate chance. I wouldn't mind seeing him play with Backlund and Coleman. To be honest with you,
I think that would be
I think
really good.
that would be a really gritty line. I think he would learn, a way better two-way game, some accountability in his own zone, some forechecking. I think he would
I
I
think
think he
he's
would
actually a
make
pretty
him a
smart
better player.
defensive player.
He is.
Have
He
you
is.
noticed that too?
Yeah, he's sneaky, right? He's
I've
sneaky,
noticed a
and he
few
seems to be
like,
in the right position.
yeah, a few like pass interceptions that it didn't seem like he was in position for that he still got to. I've noticed a lot with
Mhm,
Coronado, which has been really good to see. And then
mhm.
he's got the speed to race up and get that puck and go the other way, right? So
Yeah,
I've enjoyed that.
yeah. No, he's had some really good plays. He's also had some, I'll call them minor league gaffes as well. But he's young. He's going to learn. Those things are going to happen for the next calendar year, I suspect.
Yeah, I mean, our all of our veteran defensemen do exactly what you just said, minor league gaffes like
Right.
consistently. So, and
Yeah.
again, like Uyghur and Anderson are awesome, and I love both of them. But sometimes with
Yeah.
high risk players that have a high reward attached to them, it,
Yeah.
that happens.
Speaking of Anderson, how refreshing was it to see him start shooting um, against Buffalo?
Did you hear what was it, Huska? No, I think it was Dan Lambert, the assistant coach. Did you hear what he said about that?
Mm-mm.
One of the guys on the radio um, asked him about Rasmus Anderson's shot, and he said this, and it made me laugh a little bit, like laugh, sigh, kind of. But he said Rasmus has a really good shot, but nobody on the other team knows it.
Right. Well, it makes sense, right? Because how many times have we said he needs to shoot more? Um, the game against Vancouver, they register him as one shot. He got a goal off of it, but I'm sure that he shot the puck 4 or 5 times. He may not have hit the net every time, obviously, but
Yeah, he had a
you
couple
know,
blocked. So
yeah. But that's what we need. Like he's got a really good shot, and he needs to just shoot more. That's I mean that's one thing that has plagued this team for so long, especially on the power play. Just pass over, pass over, pass over. I mean, we're brilliant at cycling around the perimeter.
yeah,
Man, can we ever hold that puck around the boards? We're so good at it.
oh,
Just can't get anybody to stand in front of the fucking net while we take a
it's
shot at it.
it's pretty frustrating. I actually um on Flames Hub during the game the other day, I on Facebook there, I actually rewound the game during one of the commercial breaks because I noticed for like a solid 20 seconds there was we were on the power play and there was 4 Canucks in front of the net and 0 Flames. And they were all, and I actually went back and took a picture of it and shared it. And everyone was like, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah. Well, even Greg Mullins was talking about it on the broadcast too, right? Like it's pathetic. You know, we've got guys like Pospisil that can muck it up in front of the net. We have guys like Zari that would be really good in front of the net. Coronado is really good in front of the net. Like, why are we not using these players to be in that position? Just
Kadri
makes
is
no
supposed
sense.
to be.
That's his job,
That's
and he
literally his job.
refuses to do it. He refuses to do it.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, if he's going to refuse to do his one job on the power play, then he doesn't get to be on the power play.
Andrew Mangiapane, how has he scored most of his goals in his career? In front of the net, getting dirty. One of the few things that I give Tree Living credit for is how he used to talk about Andrew Mangiapane and how he's at his best when when his helmet is half off of his head because he's been in front of the net wrestling and trying to get tips and rebounds.
Yeah.
It's not there for him. It's not there for Kadri. I have a hard time believing that guys like Pospisil and Zari weren't doing that in the minors. I don't know how they expect to score on the power play. Like, we got a power play goal the other night, but what were we, like 3 for 30 or something like that at the time? Like, that's 10%. That's not very fucking good.
Yeah. Well, exactly. We're shy of 15% on the season, which is
Hilarious. Bad.
Yeah, it's obviously not good enough.
Yeah,
it's obviously not good enough.
It's so bad, it's comical.
Yeah. Did we get one on the power play? Who did we get that against? Was that Buffalo?
Anderson, wasn't it?
No, it was Huberdeau.
Oh, Huberdeau. Oh, yeah. And that wasn't even a shot. And given Kuzmenko was in front of the net trying to get that, but that actually just went off of one of the defensemen and went in. And it was a pass.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you shoot towards the net and you have somebody with an active stick in front of the net. Like,
when you work for bounces, you often get bounces.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
If you work to create chances, chances will be created.
I actually called into the post-game show from with Steinberg the other day because he said something so hilarious and obvious that I had to call in and chirp him about it. He said the game winner was where the game was won against Buffalo. Like, oh yeah, that's some quality radio, buddy. He just laughed.
That's some John Madden shit right there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well done, Pat.
I actually had to write it down. Remember that one, guys. The game winner is where the game was won.
They should put that on a plaque.
Send it into 960.
You know what? I might get something made and send it over to him.
I hope so.
Just something for his desk.
Yeah. Anyways.
It's really funny.
Hockey games move fast. But with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers bet just $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE NY 67369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions terms and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved.
Let's talk about some of the games we have coming up here. So we have the dreaded game against Chicago, I believe. Is that tomorrow or the next day?
That is on Tuesday the 26th at 6:30
That'll
in
be
Chicago.
tomorrow. Probably today by the time you guys are listening to this. So that's what's your prediction on that one, knowing how the Flames play against the elite teams of the league?
Let me quickly check the standings. Yep, Chicago's 31st in the league. That looks like a 5-2 victory for Chicago.
I was gonna say 4-2, but could be either, really.
I suppose it depends on who's getting the call. Well, does it? I guess it doesn't matter who gets the call in net. We had both Markstrom and Wolf over the weekend. They both led in 4 each.
Yeah. I don't think either of them honestly played particularly badly. Actually, Wolf only led in 2.
Sure.
And I don't think Wolf has played bad. We should talk about that in a second, but let's talk about so you're saying 5-2 for Chicago. I'm saying 4-2 for Chicago. And then St. Louis, who's absolutely ran our show this year.
They freaking ran our show for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's funny. Based on where they are in the standings, I feel like we have a way better shot against St. Louis than we do against Chicago.
I do too, because St. Louis is actually fairly close to a playoff spot. I actually was going to say the same thing. 3-1 for Calgary.
Yeah, I would not be surprised by that. Yeah, I would not be surprised. And I don't have a problem with Calgary go ahead and upsetting somebody's chances of making the wild card either. I don't mind being that team.
Me neither. Not at all. I like that. I mean, it's nice to get a higher draft pick, but having lost, that's also draining, very draining. Remember the beginning of the season where we were on a ridiculous losing streak, and it was hard to watch. Like, I still watched every game I was able to watch, and it's mentally difficult, but
well, it is, and you don't want players getting into that sort of a funk and carrying it over into next season either.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of tell, especially after last night, that the players are kind of starting to come to the realization that they're not going to be playing in the tournament at the end of the season. So
yeah, you could tell. Like, Backlund started talking about it, about the team needing to just have fun for the last 12 games. He said, and I think there was a couple other guys who said something relatively similar. It just kind of seems like they're coming to the realization that we all, well, maybe not all of us, but many of us kind of decided that was going to happen maybe 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, many weeks ago.
But hey, you know what? Like we said to kick off the episode, I wouldn't want them to write off the season in November or January or February, even if a bunch of us are, because we see the skill on the team and the other teams around them and the standings and stuff like that. You wouldn't want the team to think that way.
No, exactly. You definitely don't. I mean, with how poorly we started, the writing was on the wall how this season was going to end. But I mean, if the players start mailing it in October and November, then holy shit, at what point do you get to withhold salary?
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about Kuzmenko. I put a bit of a poll up um, online yesterday, or was it this morning? Anyways, I put it up earlier, and I wanted to know your opinion on this. What do you think of the future of Kuzmenko and the Flames? Do you want them to try to extend him this offseason, try to flip him for assets, or still not sure?
I'm kind of still not sure, to be honest with you. I I mean, I wouldn't have a problem if we did sign him. It depends on how long that term is. Like it's for me, it's no more than 2 or 3 years.
So,
Um,
do you think he'd be asking for a raise?
Hmm. that's a hell of a question. Let's find out.
So his
I
contract is 5.5
said
right
5.5.
now, and he's got a 12-team no trade.
Mm,
He's got next year as well, right? Like he's not a pending
yeah,
free agent. So
yeah. I was gonna say we do have one more year with him.
yeah,
I think I think an extension should be something that happens maybe mid-season for him. Let's see what kind of drive we have, and add, if if we're not gonna sign him, or if he's not gonna sign, then he's a movable piece at the deadline.
yeah. I kind of agree. Also, I think that this line with him, Huberto, and Sharon Govich, um, I know they're not putting up a whole lot of numbers. They're putting up a little bit, but they're not putting up a whole lot of numbers.
Mm.
I see a lot there when it comes to chemistry that looks close, if you know what I mean. Like it's not quite there, but I feel like if they worked on it, if they played together for another couple games or for like the rest of the season and then they played together for half of next season, maybe starting at the beginning of next season, I feel like Kuzmenko could have another one of those, 30 plus goal seasons that he's had in the past. And Huberto could get point per game ish, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, who knows? And maybe Sharon Govich could replicate his 30 whatever goal pace he's on too, right? Like I
Mhm.
really like what I see. I like that uh, these days when Huberto's throwing blind passes, it actually is to where those guys like to be. Even if they're not there
Generally,
at the time, I find those guys like to be in the area where Huberto likes to throw the puck.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I think they've gelled well. They look good together. I do find Kuzmenko to be somewhat of a lazy player at times.
He's not
Um,
the defensive player. It's
yeah,
well advertised, and I don't know if that'll ever fix, right? He's 29, isn't he? Or
yeah,
28.
28. I mean, this is only his, effectively his second season
Yeah.
in the league too, right? So I mean,
It's a sophomore
yeah,
slump.
yeah, yeah. I can see that. He's got a great shot, right? And he's very creative with the puck too. I do appreciate watching him when he's got the puck behind the net, and the effort that he goes to try to get the puck either out front with a pass, or to muscle his way through.
That whole line and their board battles offensively have been very impressive over the last 3 or 4
Mhm.
games, I found.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sharon Govich is a winner. I really can't say enough about him, but I think the combination with Kuzmenko and Huberdeau and Sharon Govich, I think given another year, I think they could actually become a really good line together and actually put up a lot of points.
I agree. Given Sharon Govich starts winning more faceoffs, but
Correct.
I do think that line has a ton of
Yeah, they've got a lot
possibilities
of
in the
promise.
future.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of promise.
And I wouldn't mind. I think, you know what? I pretty much just agree with you on that. I think Kuzmenko probably rides about half of the year next year before anybody, including Conroy, figures out if he wants to keep him or not. I don't see him being flipped in the off season. I certainly don't see him walking for nothing. I don't know yet. I don't think Conroy knows yet. I don't think most of the fan base knows yet. I'm gonna look and see what the poll said here.
Let's go to the people. What do the people say, Dylan?
Actually, you know what? The people say most of them say that they'd like to see him re-signed.
Huh. Well, there you go. The fans have spoken. Make it happen,
And
Greg.
yeah, I'd say
8 times 8. 8 times 8.
it looks like about 60% of them try to extend him. 53%, sorry. Now that I figured out how to do that, 53% of them say try to extend them this offseason. 25 say try to flip them, and 21 says still not sure. So there's that. I'm still not sure myself. Let's quickly wrap up talking about Wolf. I know you're not a big fan. I kind of want to get into it with you. Do you see a future for Wolf in the league? Like a bright future?
I mean, I definitely see a future. Given more games, I can potentially see him being a starter. I don't think he's there yet, but
Oh no.
I think he's got a lot to learn. I think he spends way too much time on his belly. He already takes up not nearly enough of the net just given his size. So I find he goes down way too quick. And it's burnt him a few times already so far this year.
It has. You know what? I've noticed that he notices that too. He on those plays where he looks small, it pans over to him, like the camera pans over to him, and he's like talking to himself about it. Like he knows that he needs to stop doing that. And again, the dude has like, I don't know exactly how many games he has. Like, is it even a dozen yet? He'll get there. I think. I was expecting you to say that honestly that you weren't a fan and that you weren't gonna like see a long future for him in the NHL.
I mean, I don't know where I'm at with him, to be honest. I haven't been super impressed with him. He's played 11 games, started 9.
Yeah, and I think his
3 wins.
total body of work, I'd say, is pretty much what you expect from a young prospect goalie. Like you don't see many like, and I don't mean like Carey Price or whatever. I mean like a young prospect goalie who's come up through the minors and through the WHL and all that type of stuff and had development time, but hasn't ever been touted as the next big thing in the NHL, except for by Flames fans. I
That is
think,
the thing, right?
yeah, I do think that he's going to be our starter. I don't know if he's going to be a Vezina caliber starter. I don't even think he will be. I think he'll be in between mediocre and Vezina.
And that's a pretty wide range.
Yeah,
So
no,
what you're saying is he's going to be
9-10-ish.
somewhere around the spot of an NHL goaltender.
I mean, like NHL, somewhere between NHL mediocre and NHL elite.
Okay. I mean, you may disagree. I don't think there's any NHL goalies that are below that, or else they're playing in the A. Anyways, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with him. I don't see. I mean, I could see him being our starter if we're still trying to rebuild and figure shit out.
Oh, I don't mean
I
next
don't
year,
see him.
by the way.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying
Okay.
if we're pulling an Edmonton Oiler and in 6 years we're still in the middle of a rebuild, yes, absolutely. I think he's going to be our starter. I don't think he's going to be our starter when the team starts moving forward with success, unless he shows a whole lot more than what he's shown us so far.
So, yeah, I don't think he hasn't shown yet that he is an NHL starter, but he also hasn't shown that he's not to me. He's showing me that he might have it in him. He has also shown me that he might not. It's way too early to tell, in my opinion. There's a fuck of a lot of people who are already saying, "Oh, he's got nothing. He's terrible," and other people are saying, "Oh, he's a god," and the
Which
next big
which
thing.
I
And it's like, and there's
which
like no in between, and I don't get that. He's been fine. Like,
yeah, he's been okay.
yeah,
But like if you've watched the 12 games that he's played, you know, and I'm including last year against San Jose at the end of the year.
yeah,
And if you come away from that saying he is a god and I can't wait till he leads the charge because he's the best goalie we've
yeah.
seen
I
in
don't
a
know what to
decade.
say about that.
I I I don't even I can't even say anything nice about that situation. You're
Yeah,
just plain wrong, right?
yeah. But
He's,
also, if you're saying,
he's
"Oh,
been
he's
okay.
horrible," I feel the same way. Like he
Yeah,
hasn't
like
been horrible.
he hasn't been horrible. Like
Like,
he's literally just been okay.
yeah,
Just okay.
he's been better than Markstrom last year, and he's been better than Vladar this year. So there's that.
Sure. That's an extremely low bar.
I know, it's a very low bar.
So basically what I'm saying is yes, he is better than I would be in that.
Yeah,
I mean, I get why he's there. They need to give him the tryout, right? He's earned the right.
yeah.
He's won
Oh,
all
that's
his accolades in the WHL. He's won his accolades in the AHL. So I mean, it only makes sense. Let's see what he's got. It's up to
also
him to see if he's gonna solidify himself as a really good starting goaltender, or if he's just gonna play his games and become a backup and then just fade into the sunset. I mean, who knows?
yeah.
There's still a lot to be written in the Dustin Wolf saga.
There's a wide range, and before we put Dustin Wolf down here, um, that accountability thing that I was talking about earlier, that we were talking about earlier, that goes for our goaltending too. I don't think Dustin Wolf should get the vast majority of the rest of the starts just because he's our young up and comer or whatever. I think that not giving Jacob Markstrom starts after the season he's had with the quite frankly, ass team in front of him, gives the organization a really bad look. Like, if you're not playing your veteran goaltender at the end of the year as your starter after basically being a Vezina caliber goalie,
Slow down.
then you're probably gonna have some free agents in the future being like, well, so you're saying if I play very well, I'm not gonna play much? Maybe I just won't go to Calgary then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I also feel that Markstrom is still sulking just from his body language in his game on Saturday. And I'm talking about his body
Sulking from
language,
Tanev and Hannafin and
just the whole whatever he was sulking about there at the
oh
deadline.
yeah from okay.
Um, and I don't and if he truly is, then I don't really care what his beliefs are, but he seems like he's already checked out, and so I
I
don't
don't
know.
think he's checked out. He's playing great hockey. Might maybe save
He's
the last game he played.
he's played one game since that whole shit happened, and that was on Saturday, and he was not playing great hockey.
Well, I'm saying this season as a whole, he's played very good hockey, and he's had one game since he returned from injury. Like, that's not.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I personally don't think he had an injury.
I don't think you're allowed to put a guy on IR if they don't have an injury or something like that.
Sure, there's a lot you're not allowed to do. Anyways, I mean, he's had a good season. I put him nowhere near Besna, but he's had a pretty good season, right? He's saved more games than not this year, opposed, obviously a
He's saved
far
more
cry from.
games than we've wanted him to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's kept us in pretty much every game. No, he's had a pretty good season, but he can be his own worst enemy, and his own thought process and his own attitude have
Yeah,
always been a problem with him.
yeah,
You know,
I
I
agree.
mean, we've got what 12 games left, so let's give Wolf 3 of them, 4 of them maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say Markstrom should get 7 or 8 of the remaining games, and Wolf should get
Mhm.
4-ish, 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Yeah, I can go with that. It's the only way we're gonna find out what Dustin Wolf truly is.
And I think 4 or 5 NHL games out of the remaining 12 is a good stretch, especially considering he just had a few really good games, right? No, maybe not really good. Sorry, he had a few games in a row that he played. So
No,
he's
he
getting
had
that
those few games.
experience, and I think as a AHL call up, getting 5 out of 12 games, 4 out of 12 games is great, as opposed
Yeah,
to earlier this year when he'd come up and get 0 out of 3.
yeah, no, for sure. And I think having Vladar going down for the rest of the year for hip surgery, it opens a door, right? So it's up to Dustin to just
Take it.
it's up to you, kid.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, the elephant in the room when it comes to Vladar, right? Is that what has been plaguing him for the last half a season? Who knows?
Maybe. I
And if
just
I
I
feel like
just think
if a goaltender requires hip surgery, I would imagine that's going to affect his movement in the crease.
I think Vladar was not. I think he had that one good season. Like, I really liked Vladar coming in because I watched him in Boston a few times and I thought he was pretty good as a young up and coming goalie. But then he had that one really good season as Markstrom's backup when we had a really good team that often controlled play, and we had a third pairing that scared the shit out of people, and a second pairing that could shut any line down, and a first pairing who was relatively dynamic. Like, he had a really good team in front of him that year, and he played well. And I think he's better than what he's shown over the last 2 years, but I don't think he's that much better than what he's shown over the last 2 years. I think he just is what he is.
Yeah, I mean his first
He's
year was his best year. I think yeah. I mean, given his numbers, like it's like last year was a disaster for both him and Markstrom, and this year, unfortunately for him, his numbers are worse.
Yeah,
by quite a bit. After 20 games, sitting at an 882 save percentage and goals against average of 3.62. That's not going to cut it.
no, not at all.
And I mean, who knows what we can get for him on the in the trade market? Like
my prediction is that he gets waived at the beginning of next year and goes to the AHL and is our AHL starter next year. Because I don't think anybody's going to trade for him.
No, I can see that happening. And who knows what kind of goaltender he becomes after his surgery. Maybe it gets back to the 21-22 Dan Vladar that we saw. Who knows?
Hopefully. That would be nice. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
I don't think so.
No. So much for a half-hour-long episode we were planning on doing, but here we are. That happens almost every time we say we're going to go short.
Yep. Every time.
Yep. Make sure you like the video, share us with your friends. Check us out on Twitter at ArmChairGM_pod or X or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Again, you see me all over the place on Reddit and on Facebook. It's pretty obvious. Armchair GM podcast. And yeah. Thanks for joining.
Go Flames.
Cheers. Go Flames. Let's draft high and cheers.
Draft well.